I think soft power is enormously important. It's the most important element of all, because if you don't help nations to build up one way or the other, it's going to be very, very difficult for those nations to resist conflict, to not have insurrection from their own people who are unhappy because they don't have decent lives. And I think soft power is really what builds the community of nations, because the soft power is built around the highest level of aspirations of human beings. Taking care of people, providing education, protecting human rights, those are really universal principles. And we've tried ever since the last century and its wars to organize our lives in that way. I think it's extremely important. And ultimately, if you have the hard power, you're going to wind up having to get there because you've got to develop a society. It's impossible, if you're honest about the way the world works, to imagine how you are going to have the highest level of standards and how you are going to have respect for people's aspirations and rule of law. You have to arrive at the conclusions that provide those things. That requires you to talk to other countries. It requires you to work in a collegiate way and respectful way with other people. Now, there are times when you may exhaust all the remedies and there's no other possibility and you have to defend yourself. That can happen, but you don't start out there. And I think there's an awful lot of uncertainty that's being built into this process and hurdles being created, which are going to be difficult to get over because of some of the approaches that people are taking right now. It's not at all. The UAE has been a leader for a number of years now, and I noticed they measure quite highly on the scale that you measure countries in terms of their soft power and effectiveness. But the UAE has been investing very significantly over the last 10 years or more in alternative renewable energy, clean energy, and obviously they did a terrific job leading the last conference of the parties in Dubai, where a very significant statement was made about all nations that they need to transition away from fossil fuel. I'm worried that the United States is going to be abdicating its own strong position in the world as a leader with respect to international law, with respect to many of the programs that are essential to try to even protect all countries, including our own. For instance, the United States has made an extraordinary difference in Africa with respect to AIDS. And we have been responsible for really leading that charge. We led the charge to try to help fight back against Ebola, which could have become a global pandemic had we not led that effort. So yes, I think the United States has played a singular role which we can be extremely proud. And ever since World War II, we've built on a series of institutions, the World Health Organization, the UN, other things, that really try to protect rule of law, try to respect citizens in oppressed countries, and try to raise the standards of behavior on a global basis. I do think it's really critical for the United States to continue that. And cutting away the USAID program or other efforts simply run counter to the best instincts of our nation and to our history. Well, people are going to have to make their own decisions about one nation or another and who they want to work with and how things go forward. I just know that the United States has been essential to the development of the global structure, which needs to work better. It needs reform in many places, but you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You try to do the things necessary to hold things together and use the best practices available to us. And I hope that that will continue. It's too early to tell how far this will go or how deep some of the changes that really restrain our ability to do what we're trying to do will be. I don't know that yet, but I do think that it's fair for people to be duly warned and very attentive to what is happening so that we don't set ourselves back and so that we don't end critical programs that made a difference to lives and to the United States' perception in many parts of the world. Well, I think this gathering and these kinds of efforts to try to help people to focus on the meaning of soft power are really, really important. Soft power is at the center of what builds relationships. We saw what happened with Afghanistan, we saw what happened with Iraq, we saw what happened in Vietnam, etc. Politicians can make dramatic mistakes sometimes in judgments about how they get what they want as an outcome. And we didn't get the outcomes we wanted out of those. So I think that was hard power. Soft power, you can get outcomes because you can bring people to the table and you can do away with some of the inequities and some of the suspicions that hold people back from making the commitments necessary for soft power to work.